Hello everyone, Silverstruck here. Welcome to the Silverstruck channel. Recently I received a very nice email from a viewer named Tyler, and Tyler was asking questions about collecting art bars out in the wild, and a few of his questions stuck out. One in particular is that he wanted to know what mints to look out for while shopping for these art bars. And that's a tough question to answer because there are a lot of different mints. And it's not always the mint that matters. Sometimes it's the variation of that mint. So this video is for those that are shopping for really cool art bars out in the wild, especially vintage art bars. And I'll cover a couple tips and tricks to being able to be successful in acquiring some of this silver. Now, there's a few different reasons you could be collecting silver. For fun, I hope, is the primary reason. I know some of you may be flippers out there, but I'm not. I'm a collector. For collectors, the holy grail of collecting is finding the more rare pieces, not just for value in the collection, but to fill a hole in the collection and have something that's a little bit harder to find. So that's the goal of many collectors out there, is finding the more rare pieces. And of course, if you can find a rare piece for, close to spot price or generic pricing, if you will, then that's really when you're doing well. And I try to do that. It doesn't always work, but I've had a lot of success at local coin shops and shows, picking through and finding variations. So let's get right into it. And we're going to start with the mints. The top two vintage mints to know are simply Engelhard and Johnson Matthey. Those are the top dogs. There's many, many other mints underneath that layer of vintage. You have Motherlode Mint, you've got Sunshine, you've got Silvertown. There's so many that go through, and I'll cover some of those in this video, but let's talk about Engelhard really quick here, and I have a few different bars out just to demonstrate. So here we have a simple, regular, high production, standard production bar Engelhard. This one is an Engelhard. Engelhard is just highly collected in a really big-time recognized name, and so any Engelhard is one that you want to be out on the lookout for. But there's a lot of rare variations. This one's super common. They made this in a landscape variety and also a vertical variety or portrait. There we go. I was forgetting the name there for a moment. But there's a common bar. A little bit less common would be something like this one right here. This is an early Canadian. Bar similar to this was featured recently on the Silver Stackers channel. So this is definitely a more rare variation of an Engelhard right here, Engelhard Industries. So that's just a good example. A more common but still lesser struck bar than the regular Engelhard standard production bars. Here's another Canadian right here. So anything Engelhard and Canadian, you might want to consider swooping in and picking up, because they're going to be lower mintage bars comparatively to the U.S. bars. So the quick and speed and ease answer to finding rare Engelhards would be something that's from the Canadian Engelhard mint rather than the U.S. Just the way that it is, there's no real high production Canadian out there. So there's that for Engelhard. That's a real kind of tip of the iceberg type advice. Go for the Canadian Engelhards every time you see them. Now, with Johnson Matthey, it's much harder. So I'm going to start here with what not to pick up for Johnson Matthey per se. I'm going to start with this bar right here. So here we have a beautiful, brand new looking Johnson Matthey. You can see it has an A leading serial number. And that's because this is not vintage. This is a brand new Johnson Matthey. And that's the problem with Johnson Matthey. With Engelhard, they've ceased production. There's no more Engelhards, but Asahi, if you will, actually purchased the rights to be able to produce these Johnson Mattheys. I'm not sure if they bought all of Johnson Matthey or not, but the A is for Asahi. So that's not necessarily a bar you want to pick up. This is just a generic modern bar. And I really wish they marked it retro or something like that, but they did not. So they're producing those bars just how they were back in the day with that A leading prefix. A authentic Johnson Matthey would be these guys right here. You can see these ones don't even have a leading prefix, just a serial number. This is a good bar to be out on the lookout for. There's all sorts of variations for Johnson Matthey. So we're going to get into that right now. And that's really where the rare Johnson Mattheys live, or in the different varieties. So let's put these aside for a second, and we're going to talk about some varieties. Now, recently, these are new bars that I've not shown on the channel. I was able to score said varieties at a local coin shop. There's 3 bars right here. So if we check them out, they're in mint condition because they're in the OP. Here we have 1 troy ounce, 3 nines fine, Republic National Bank of New York. Now, on the obverse here, it's just a bank bar. There's nothing special about it. But we flip it over to its reverse, and that's when the magic happens. So you see a serial number there, and you see the R&B logo repeated. But check out the bottom. Look at that, Johnson Matthey. So this is a Johnson Matthey bar produced for the Republic National Bank of New York. And I'll pop up a little splurb here from allingohard.com, and that's going to show the mintage of this bar at only 10,000. Keep in mind that's extremely low comparatively to the standard production bars Johnson Matthey produced at easily 1 million bars. So it's a much lower mintage bar right there, and that's a variety you want to look out for. Another variety I found not too long ago, maybe a month ago, these right here. Here we have some Winwood bars, serial number. These have amazing toning, purple toning. As we flip it over to the reverse, Johnson Matthey. And these are much, much more rare at only 1,000 made. So I'll pop up again a page from allingohard.com showing these Winwoods. You can see that there's only been 1,000 made, so way more rare than the last bar I showed, and way more rare than the standard production bar. So this is a winner right here, a great bar to have in the collection. So that's where the different varieties of these bars and variations really come into play, and that's when you can find some rare bars to be able to pick up. So there's my basic advice going in and digging through the generic bin is you want to look at both sides of the bar, and you want to look for the 2 top dogs, Engelhard's and Johnson Matthey's. And to do that, sometimes it won't even say Engelhard or Johnson Matthey. So this is just the easier way to explain it. But there are other bars that are just made by those 2 refiners that have no markings whatsoever. So without making this video too long, let's take a really quick review of this pile of bars that I've picked out here. I'm going to go through these and show you a whole bunch of different variations of bars and mints to look out for. Like I said, there's many, so I'm going to go very quickly here. And some of these bars I've shared recently. So Coors Light, but we flip it over, and here we have Sunshine Mining Company, and then of course I show Sunshine all the time. You want Sunshine Mining, not minting. This one right here, these trade units were made by the scores and scores. So this particular trade unit, though, if you look underneath the bell where the eagle's talons are, you'll see CCM. That is California Crown Mint. So that is another mint to be on the lookout for. Not all these trade unit bars are going to be made by CCM. That's just one example of a certain mint you could be collecting. This one here is another one I've shared recently. This one's interesting if we flip it over. This is a collectible onto itself. See that DCP at the bottom left? That's Doyle's Coin Palace. And this particular bar was made by Golden State Mint. So you're getting kind of a twofer. This is a Golden State Mint bar that was made for Doyle's. Moving on to the next bar. Standard looking art bar. Nothing that special until you flip it over. You can see here, this is a Madison Mint. One of the top mints out there to collect, other than, as far as art bars are concerned, other than Johnson Matthey and Engelhard, Madison Mint and Motherlode Mint would probably be my other top 2. So Madison Mint is a good way to go. This one right here is kind of a classic. Silvertown. This one's very rare, hard to find. This is just a refinement. Showed this plenty of times. That's a more obscure bar. This one right here, United States Silver Corporation. That's another big time bar to go after. There's all sorts of different series they have. And this one right here is gonna cover one of Tyler's other questions. He was asking about national refiners, and you can see here that we have two different designs. This one to my right is the more well-known national bar. So we take a look at that right there. It has a serial number. There's a few different varieties of these that can be found. We flip it over. You see that it is a product of Canada. So pretty cool bar. Not terribly hard to find. However, this particular bar, again, another National Refiners with a serial number, we flip it over, and it's a product of the USA. So not very many people understand that these National Refiner bars aren't just Canadian, there's an American variation. And as far as I can tell, the US variation is far more scarce than the Canadian variation. So even with something as simple as National Refiners, you're talking more about a variation to collect than you are actually collecting the mint itself. So there we go. Look out for those varieties. Check over the bars carefully. Look for the top dog refiners if you can, unless you decide you're going to get into a specific refiner like a Madison or a United States Silver Corp or something like that. But there you have it. I hope this video was full of enough information to aid all of you out there in your hunting. So happy hunting to all of you. Don't forget to leave me a comment in the comment section. And as always, thank you so much for watching.